Adventurers who don't believe in humanity will save the world, Chapter 47, The Legend of the Paladin, Part 1. In the end, the objective was not to win a duel, but to arrest the Steel Tiger crew. After all the fraud they committed using the telepath stones came to light, it seemed like everything was explained. Not just cheating in duels like that, but also card games in bars, badger games with Claudine, etc. All sorts of suspicions were being dug up one after the other, to the point where the concerned parties realized it was beyond something that could be resolved by the guild. They were handed over to the Order of the Sun and detained, something that Nick and the others considered a huge victory. But there was a miscalculation. They won, but this story became the talk of the town, which brought about unexpected circumstances. Who would have thought so many victims would start raising their voices? "I don't know if I'm going to get everything that was taken from me," said Nick with a sigh, in his room. It was the day after the duel. It cannot be helped. If we were the only ones to receive money from them, people would be jealous and that would certainly lead to trouble. We received a reward from the guild, is that not good enough? Bond made an excellent point. I guess. You earned a solid share. For now, how about you rest like Karen? Surely, the most difficult part of this endeavor was Karen continuing to solve math problems until they used the telepath stones. The Steel Tiger crew's plan to drag out the match and decisively win in the end backfired, but Karen was so exhausted after studying around the clock, that she was still sleeping in the room next door. They thought she would be awake in the morning, but when they knocked, she responded with, "I'm still sleeping." Even in the evening, she was still resting. It was the first time this happened. Usually, Karen would wake up first, wake Nick up, and go out all day to eat all sorts of things. I think we should get something for her to eat later. Yeah, she did study a lot. You should rest as well. No, my body isn't all that tired, if anything I'm more mentally fatigued. This whole thing was such a pain. You do not seem all that bothered about being hit. Sem healed me. I'm going out. Out? Where? To check out the park where idols do guerrilla live concerts from time to time. You sure like idols a lot. Humans need to be spoiled sometimes. Don't you have anything like that, Bond? When the network infrastructure still lived, I did stream videos. Videos? What's that? Well, no point in explaining that. More importantly, I want to watch it as well. What a pain. Come on, it will not be a problem. If there is a lively event happening, I want to see it. Oh, all right. There was always a lot of commotion by the fountain in the center of the Western Park. It was a place where it was permitted to set up stalls, exhibitions, and all sorts of personal businesses, so it had a lot of foot traffic and a bright atmosphere. If it was a sunny day, that is. It sure is raining a lot. Well, this is no good. The weather was fickle in the Labyrinth City ahead of summer, and sudden rains were not unusual. Nick and Bond took shelter underneath a nearby tree. It is showing no signs of stopping. What should we do? I guess we need to run home even if we get there soaking wet, said an exasperated Nick, before someone else ran to the tree, also seeking shelter. Ah geez, I'm dripping wet. The girl, whose face Nick and Bond knew very well, shook the water off her robe. Oh. Tiana? Nick and Bond. What are you doing here? We came here because of all the guerrilla live shows that happen in this spot, but the weather is in this state, said Tiana with a dry smile. What about you? The usual dragon races? Dragon races don't stop just because it's raining. I went out shopping today, but walking around in the rain isn't very nice. What a bad day. We're in the same boat. Ah, I know. What? How about you come with me for a bit? Tiana took Nick and Bond with her as they walked through the rain. No matter how many times Nick asked her they were going, Tiana would always evade the question and tell him to just keep going. Before they knew it, they reached an high-end area in the border between the shopping district and an high-end residential area, and this was where Tiana stopped. There was a building that looked like a high-class hotel, but the sign said otherwise. It was always illuminated by lamps using magic energy, but there were no drunk customers in sight or anything of the sort. For all its flashiness, it still retained a high-class feel. "Welcome." "Ah, yes." Nick nodded towards the employee, but felt a little flustered. It was his first time in such a place. It's their first time here. "Should I explain our establishment?" "I'll do it." "Understood. Please take your time." Tiana stepped on the rug and continued walking as though she was in her own mansion. There was a faint sound of music, but the sounds of coins hitting other coins, and cards being shuffled lightly echoed. "It's my first time in a casino. It's my treat this time." Tiana was given a bucket full of coins in the entrance, which she handed over to Nick. Hey, I don't know the rules." "You know how to play cards, right?" "No, I tried not to get into that too much." Nick, embarrassed, turned away. "That's surprising. Are you scared?" Tiana snickered, and Nick awkwardly turned away. "I am sure they do nothing but fight swindlers. It's a good thing it was discovered that they were using telepath stones, because it'd be trouble otherwise." "Don't be silly, proper casinos like this have countermeasures against magic and magic items. The cards are all made of special paper and ink that makes them difficult to be affected by magic. Then, I'm sure these places are full of incredible people that can do pure tricks that don't involve magic. When my old party went to places like these, there was always some that go broke. I guess you really can't beat pros." "It's true. Sometimes people get taken for a ride, and before they notice it they're penniless. Right? That's exactly why I need to teach you how to play." "Why, hey." "Oh, I'm serious, leave it me. Let's see if we can find something you can play even if you don't know the rules." Tiana walked forward with no hesitation, and Nick and Bond hurriedly followed her. She stopped at the bar counter, and the three sat down. "Bartender, give this boy something sweet." The man in the back nodded and started moving briskly. As Nick watched him, he asked Tiana a question. "So you do more gambling than just the dragon races? This one really is just for fun. If we add it all up, it's obvious I'm not making money here. It'd be weird if you were. By the way, do you know the rules, Bond? I am limited by my code of ethics, so I cannot take part in things such as gambling. I will feel sick if I break it," answered Bond while puffing his cheeks. "Oh. Can't you close your eyes or something?" "I can, but it would be too much of a bother. I will stay here and rest," said Bond with a displeased expression, before the bartender placed a plate on the counter. On that plate, was vanilla ice cream with chocolate sauce. "Ooh, you have ice cream. Good. Bond started happily stuffing his cheeks with no trace of his earlier displeasure. "You self-interested. I am very fond of this civilization's food, even if not to Karen's extent. You primitive beings go be swallowed up in the madness of gambling, and be sure to regret it." "Oh. Well, now we have no choice but to win. Come on, Nick. I told you I'm an amateur." Adventurers who don't believe in humanity will save the world, Chapter 48, The Legend of the Paladin, Part 2. Roulette was a simple but surprisingly deep game. You threw a ball into a spinning board called a wheel, and tried to guess which round pocket it would fall into. That was all there was to the game, but there were several ways to bet. You could pinpoint the exact number it would fall into, whether it would fall in a red or black pocket. You could even guess it would fall on one of two adjacent numbers. And even if the ball is still rolling on the wheel, you can add or change bets until the dealer says it's over. Well, I understand, but Nick had good eyes, good senses to take command of brawls and fistfights, and the stupid courage to face ogres 2 or 3 times his size, but he was being completely taken in by the environment. He placed chips little by little as outside bets, the places with low multipliers. The dealer and customers around him thought it was amusing how obvious it was that Nick was an amateur. But the cute girl next to him could not hide her irritation. Hey! Bet more like wham bang. I can't just bet other people's money like an idiot, can I? Geez. Maybe I should have picked the slots. I told you shouldn't drag me into this too much. What? Says the guy that drags me to adventures and duels. You. I don't have a response. Nick looked away in embarrassment, but Tiana just snickered. Just kidding, just kidding. I just wanted to bring you here as a nice distraction. Distraction? Well, if that's the case. The next game is starting. Concentrate. Yes. Nick stared at the ball rolling in the rapidly spinning roulette. The ball's movements were unpredictable, and it kept being sucked into various pockets. The way to gamble slowly changed. Nick was not looking at the wheel, but instead, at the dealer's fingers and eyes. He noticed this was not a battle against physics, but a battle against humans. Yes, not bad. The ball rolled on top of the board. Nick narrowed down the pockets where the ball was likely to fall, and piled up chips as if to probe the situation. Nick started thinking this was not unlike fighting. It was a series of fine tactics and bold moves. Think about it all the way through, and end it with a final blow. The innocent smile on the dealer's face began peeling away, and a sharpness behind his eyes started appearing and disappearing. The dealer rang the bell signaling there would be no more bets. All right. Good job. Tiana tapped Nick's back, who had just pocketed 35 times the chips. Congratulations. The dealer handed over a pile of chips with a full smile on his face. He was smiling too much, and it was a little scary. On top of that, Nick could see the frustration peeking from behind his eyes. But that's what it meant to play. The real fun was in trying to defeat your opponent completely. Nick and Tiana were completely immersed in the roulette for a while. Yes, immersed. The rational part of their heads flew off somewhere. He ripped away all my money. Ha ha ha, as expected from a pro. At least you made him have to get serious. That's pretty good. Ah. This isn't a good game for amateurs. Nick dejectedly dropped his shoulders, but Tiana was laughing and having the time of her life. She smacked Nick on the back hard enough for it to hurt. But it was a nice distraction, wasn't it? I feel like that was a pretty big sacrifice for the sake of a distraction. You can pay me back later. Hey, didn't you say it was your treat? Just kidding, just kidding. Tiana laughed loudly, and received a drink from an employee that was passing by. It was not an alcoholic drink, just juice. Nick received one as well and tried it, and felt a citrus-like refreshing sourness. Tiana. What? Where did the Steak Tiger crew screw up? Suddenly said Nick. Why are you bringing that up? I was just thinking that they were said to cheat places like this, so maybe they've come here too. Who knows? It's not for us to understand. I guess. I just feel like they're not too different from us. How so? Before Leon and I started fighting, he tried to sell me Claudine. Ah. Aren't they partners? Tiana was shocked. But Claudine was also going to wash her hands of Leon and get away. Now that you mention it. I think they had a good partnership going. They used telepath stones, but still, they almost got me. At the same time, it's like they erected a barrier between them and could never really trust each other. You told us not to trust you too. Maybe. What? If we made a mistake along the way, we would have turned out like them. Nick. HN. Tiana flicked Nick's defenseless forehead. Ouch. Don't you know how to hold back? You deserve it after saying that nonsense. Don't you remember what you said? What? I think trust is believing in each other's innocence. Did you forget that? Ah. What do you mean, ah? Jeez. Tiana shrugged her shoulders in an exaggerated manner. Don't worry, I'll always doubt whether or not you're thinking something stupid. Oh, good. If you do something wrong, I'll burn the back of your hands with tobacco fire or use magic to make you slip, so don't worry and do what you want. Scary, said Nick, but he actually felt awkward. He beat Leon and Claudine, but wasn't really thrilled about it. His ex-girlfriend being escorted away left a strange taste in his mouth, and he had some regrets about getting everyone involved. Tiana most likely noticed this, and Nick really did think she was a frightening girl, but he was glad to have her as a partner. We should go get Bond and go home. Oh, really? I had fun, thanks. Nick was saying, but was interrupted by a loud sound of metal being crushed, coming from the entrance. Yua! Run away! Shortly afterwards, people's screams filled the air. They were voices that probably should not be heard in a heavily guarded casino. What? Robbers. Idiot, if it was robbers the casino could deal with them. I feel a monster is here. No way. No one could hear Nick's question, as screams echoed throughout the casino. Adventurers who don't believe in humanity will save the world, Chapter 49, Leon's Retrospection. There was once a party named Silver Tiger Crew, but it was a long time ago, about 10 years before, and few remember them. They were a B rank party, so they were all very strong, but at the same time, they were fascinated by the ancient civilization. Leon, we're going to get the secret treasures of the legendary ancient civilization. Their leader, Bishat, was Leon's brother, and he was a few years older than him. Most tiger people were rowdy, but Bishat was more of an intellectual. He studied among humans, and could even memorize the ancient civilization's language. He was humorous and strong, and gathered a lot of comrades. Leon respected his brother, and wanted to follow in his footsteps. The Silver Tiger Crew's downfall came alongside its success. The labyrinth, Metal Moon Hell, was a hellish place where magic dolls made by the ancient civilization were turned into monsters by miasma, and fought among themselves. Only adventurers that were B rank and above could explore it, and it hadn't been fully explored yet. Not only were the monsters strong, but it was very mysterious and had a lot of nasty traps, truly befitting of the word labyrinth. It was not the kind of place adventurers could conquer just by being strong, and in a way, it was more difficult than a rank labyrinths. The Silver Tiger Crew was the first to conquer it, and Bishat was the hero who unraveled its mysteries. This did not just get them renown, as the Silver Tiger Crew acquired all sorts of artifacts. Among them were a magic sword named Butterfly Sword, that could manipulate light and sound to unleash bewitching attacks, a staff named False Root Staff, that enabled the user to control the inactivated magic dolls, the treasure of the legendary Phantom Light race, the Phantom King's Orb, and many more, all with extraordinary abilities. The offers wouldn't stop coming. Name your price and I will pay it, there are too many buyers so at least put it up for auction, no if you offer them to the royal palace you will surely be awarded a court rank, people would say. And then, one comrade succumbed to greed, stole the butterfly sword, and sold it. Bishat was intelligent, but his social status was low, and he lacked the experience to continually carry out tough negations with high-class merchants and nobles. It was decided that the merchant guild would handle the sales, even if they did take a considerable commission, but something derailed those plans. Something that would also derail people's character and fate itself. Leon did not even know who started it, all he remembered was the horrible sight of his older brother and a comrade killing each other. His brother was killed, their former comrade escaped, and the reputation of the Silver Tiger Crew fell as hard as it could. The money Bishat had saved from all of their adventures and the residence he had built for their party, everything was taken away by the merchant guild as a penalty for breach of contract. In one night, Leon lost his comrades, family, and assets. It started that day. Leon realized he could not trust anyone, and people that were in the same party were nothing more than business partners. He would never trust again, and would cut down others before they could do it to him. In this sense, himself and Claudine made the perfect pair. She did not hesitate to frame others and would happily partake in conspiracies. She would not hesitate to betray him if he was careless, and she would sense when he was thinking of betraying her and warn him about it. She was a good girl, and the idea that humans could not be trusted. Beck had a good head on his shoulders, but was still an idiot that could not be bothered to think about anything, but he would still happily help Leon with his work. When they were done with their work, he would gladly gulp down alcohol with no weight on his conscience. He was a man with an aptitude for evil. Leon had other party members, bound by money or threats, but he liked to work with Claudine and Beck the most. Where did they go wrong? One problem was obtaining telepath stones. They absolutely were useful items, but they also brought about negligence, and their work became sloppier. Before they acquired the telepath stones, they would have never committed blunders like meeting again with someone they had exploited and discarded. And then, there was the trouble with Nick and his party. At first, Leon didn't understand why Claudine was so fixated on Nick. If anything, Leon was thankful to Nick for warning him about Claudine's plan to run away. But as they talked, Leon understood. He understood all too well. Yes, this guy would not fall to despair. He was trying to lead an honest life in a city where one misstep would pull the rug out from under you and take everything you had. Leon was half serious when he attempted to sell Claudine to him. He would have no regrets as long as he could see something important being distorted. If anything, he wouldn't mind Nick becoming his partner. But Nick responded with an honest answer, meaning he was nothing more than an enemy to them, and had to be beaten down. Your assets will be distributed to the victims. In the end, this was the result. Leon lost the duel, and as a result of his telepath stone scam being revealed, many of his other schemes were coming to light. He was taken in by the Order of the Sun, and locked in a stone room. Leon was being interrogated by knights in a dark, narrow place. We confiscated everything you had hidden in your room. It will all be put up for auction, but... What? There was a pause by the knight, and Leon also stopped talking. Guh. The knight's thick arm was wrapped around Leon's neck. Is that all there is? I know who you are, former member of the Silver Tiger crew. Leon's blood was boiling. You have stolen treasure from that time hidden somewhere, don't you? Even just one of the lost artifacts like the butterfly sword, false root staff, or Phantom King's orb would be enough to compensate every single one of your victims. Give up and confess. Me. What was that? Don't screw with me. I don't have that. Humph, are you trying to say they were stolen by another one of your comrades? Who's going to believe that? The knight let go of his neck. Leon glared at him, but he was not the least bit intimidated. If anything, the knight seemed to find it amusing how pitiful Leon's situation was. None of the stolen treasures ended up on the black market. They're not the sort of thing someone would keep without selling or using. And that means I have them hidden. You're way off the mark. That's what we're going to find out. What I have isn't one of those three. What? Leon started snickering. There was something that he kept hidden even from Bishat. He couldn't trust people. After all, he himself had been lying all this time. He took the greatest treasure of the Metal Moon Hell for himself and kept it hidden, for it was too dangerous to use or even sell. Until that day. The knight stepped back, feeling something was not right, and then it happened. Leon screamed. At this point I have no other choice. Come Mad Moon Sword. Adventurers who don't believe in humanity will save the world, Chapter 50, Leon's Retrospection Part 2/The Legend of the Paladin Part 3. Metal Moon Hell was originally a research facility built by the ancient civilization. Its objective was to develop various drastic measures to clear miasma, the source of the outbreak of monsters. These measures included magic items and magic dolls, but the most dangerous item being developed there was the sacred sword, Sword of Evolution. Swords with magic properties were called magic swords, and sacred sword was the term used to describe particularly excellent magic swords. But even sacred swords were separated by quality. Particularly sacred swords, each had a theme, rather than simply being powerful. They needed to do something else when their incredible power was unleashed. The Sword of Evolution was forged to quite literally make humans evolve. There were a lot of different beings in the world, regular humans, beast people, dwarves, elves, etc., but in the end, they were nothing more than undersized mammals. Because of this, it would be advantageous for humans to be able to adapt and evolve further. No matter how much the miasma spread and how many monsters were spawned, they would not be a threat to beings that could adapt. The theme of the Sword of Evolution was to evolve its user to adapt them to any situation, and destroy monsters. But drastic evolution was not that much different than going berserk. Even if it was temporary, people feared this sword that would forcibly evolve something that was nothing more than a single living being. Because of the dangerous light and abilities that this sword possessed, it came to be known as the Mad Moon Sword. What? A sword. A sword jumped out all of a sudden. As if it had a will of its own, a sword burst inside the Order of the Sun's interrogation room. No one was cut, but witnessing this abnormal situation made many people shudder, as they stared at the sword. Leon, it has been a while. I see you finally want to use me. Good grief, it took too long. Shut up. I know what happens if I use you. And yet, you have been cornered to the point where you are left with no choice, correct? Calmly said the Mad Moon Sword, but Leon felt delight and alertness behind its voice. I don't care, but I have one condition. What is it? There are people I want to kill, an adventurer named Nick, and one of my former partners from the Silver Tiger crew. I cannot find someone with a name alone. But you remember their smell, do you not? Let me sharpen your 5 senses to put them on par with a beast. That way, you yourself can look for them. Go ahead. Leon talked to the sword in front of him. The knight that was interrogating him had no idea what they were saying, but he sensed danger looming. These perceptive instincts and diligence became his worst enemy in this situation though. Hey. Don't move. Get away from the sword. But the Leon ignored the knight's warning, and tightly grabbed the sword's handle. Evolution. As the spell was spun, a golden light started gushing from the sword. Guga. The knight in the heavy armor was blown away, and he lost his consciousness. Where? Nick. I can smell you. A monster that looked like a black tiger was rampaging inside the casino, but it was not like a simple tiger. If a human with tiger ears and tail was a tiger person, this was the opposite. It was as if human characteristics were added to a big tiger. It stood on 2 legs, and was holding an aura blade magic sword, but its face was very clearly that of a tiger's, and above all else, its body was twice the size of a regular human's. It was clearly a monster. The casino employees boldly tried to stand against it, as the guests ran away in panic, but the tiger monster was just too strong. It sent big men flying as though it was swatting away insects. Wait, Nick. What is that? That thing is calling you. I don't know anyone that looks like that. Tiana and Nick were at a complete loss. But still peeked from under the table under which they were hiding. For some reason, the tiger not only spoke human words, but it was calling for Nick. They could not move around carelessly. Why you too? Something a little bad is happening. Bond jumped beside them, and Nick complained about their cramped hiding spot. Idiot, this is too small. And be quiet. I don't need you to tell me this is bad, we need to get out of here. Wait, do not run. That is the same Leon that challenged you to a duel. Nick was taken by surprise, and he peeked at the rampaging tiger. No, he clearly looks different, doesn't he? It was not a tiger person, it was a tiger with a body bigger than a wagon. I remember this. This is most likely the result of magic called evolution. It has the power to evolve humans into several forms. Evolution. Are you telling us that thing is a human? Isn't it pretty much a monster? No, it is no monster, its soul is without question human. But this magic affected his personality. When a body is changed specifically for battle, violent impulses become stronger, and the instability of a fresh evolution weakens self-control. So it's pretty much a monster. It is more dangerous than a monster. It has human intelligence, and above all. Nick. Where are you? He becomes a bit of an idiot, and starts rampaging. It is only a matter of time until he finds you, so it is now or never. Seriously. Nick whispered with a somber tone. Well. It's not like we don't have any options. Correct. So. Tiana looked at Nick and Bond. Should we do that? I don't think we have a choice. But we've never succeeded. And I'd feel bad for Karen. Tiana seemed concerned, and Nick's face became red. Don't worry about that sort of thing. Don't make things awkward. Hurry up. Bond spun around and disappeared in an instant, and in his place was the sword of Bond's. All right then, let's do it. We have no choice. Union. Adventurers who don't believe in humanity will save the world. Chapter 51, Tavern Singer Belle Huggins, also known as Agate the Idol. Ah. How did it end up like this? Belle Huggins cast a sidelong glance at her boyfriend, who was completely entranced in casino card games gambling, and sighed. Belle, I'm going to get everything back and double it. Yes. Just don't overdo it. Belle's boyfriend, Donnie, was a self-proclaimed gambler, but in actuality, he moved from job to job as a day laborer, and was unemployed on that specific day. It was not always like this. Donnie used to dream of owning his very own restaurant and being the best cook in the Labyrinth City, and he worked tirelessly in a tavern's kitchen in order to achieve this goal. Belle wholeheartedly supported him. She would come by the tavern where he worked to help him in any way she could, but she always liked singing, so she would also entertain customers by copying idols. Those days of poverty were fun, until one day, something happened. Do you want to be an idol? A scout visited the tavern. At first, Belle thought it was either a joke or a scam. The business district didn't have a great reputation, and there were people claiming to want to hire girls to be idols, but taking them to nasty brothels instead. But Donnie, not really thinking about it, said she should at least hear what he had to say, so she ended up visiting his office. Who would have guessed it was actually real? She was called to a place named Jewelry Productions, an actual idol office. Their lineup included popular idols like Citron, who was the #1 ranked idol, and Garnet, who went on tours all over the country. Belle started performing under the name Agate. Belle's daily life was suddenly completely different. She received voice training and dance lessons, was provided soap and scented oils for free, and made new friends, who bonded not over their tragic pasts and licked each other's wounds, but over dreams of a bright future. Obviously, there was also rivalry between idols, and some people would pick fights with her out of jealousy, but there was a certain element of seriousness about everyone betting it all on the same stage. It was less about lying in bed cursing people you hated, and more about sharpening your blade and cutting the others. It was a fresh kind of pain for Belle, and it only made her devote herself to this path even more, since she hated to lose. And then, it was time for her to set foot on a real stage. She would be Garnet's opening act on a park stage. Belle could not remember if she danced or sang well. She had the feeling that she had performed a strange polka, but she was in a trance, and only had vague memories. All she could remember was the brightness that made her eyes spin and the wild enthusiasm that made her blood boil with excitement. After that, she slowly gained more fans, and people started saying her songs were good. She had confidence in her voice, but not in her dancing. She managed to mitigate this problem by making it part of her on-stage character that she only sang. This actually ended up having a positive effect, as people praised her stoic attitude. But as she climbed higher, her boyfriend sank deeper. Shortly after she became an idol, he quit his job in the tavern after an argument with the owner. He bounced around from tavern to tavern, but by the time Belle got on stage, he grew to loathe the restaurant business as a whole. He used to gamble for fun, but he was getting increasingly absorbed in it. It was as though he was mirroring Belle's success, and was slowly but surely straying further away from his path. The amount of money he was borrowing from Belle was also increasing. Is it my fault? Belle sighed as she watched over Donnie. She couldn't abandon him. Surely this was the price of her success, she thought, but somewhere deep inside her heart, she noticed something. Even though she showed nothing short of her full support towards Donnie and his dream, he never supported or congratulated her. Can we go home, Donnie? Forget about the money. What? I can't back out now. But. Belle knew he was just going to end up penniless and lowering his head to her again. She was becoming increasingly successful as an idol, but her heart felt cold. Why did it turn out like this? She thought. She liked that man, and she liked his dream that he talked so much about. Donnie. Quiet. I'm trying to focus here. That was when the entire casino shook. The pianist stopped playing, and Belle heard people murmur in confusion. The reason for this abnormal development soon became clear. Goo! A terrifying roar echoed throughout the casino. What? A tiger monster. That's complete nonsense, we're in the middle of the city. There's no miasma here. Run. It was pandemonium from that point forward. Tables turned over, chairs broken, and people were sent flying. Belle could not comprehend what was happening, and could only look on in blank amazement. To Belle, who was seriously thinking about whether or not to reconsider her relationship with her boyfriend, what she was seeing was utterly bizarre. But finally. We have to get out of here. By the time she snapped back to reality and thought this, Donnie was already gone. Donnie. Where? Donnie had already run away, and left Belle behind. Why, you're kidding. Belle fell back, as she watched Donnie run. She wondered why she was there, and why she worked so hard for that man. But reality did not allow Belle to wallow in her sorrow. A hard, ebony table, large enough for 10 men, was flying through the air, knocked away by the rampaging tiger. It was headed straight towards Belle, and it would surely crush her. Belle looked at it with a blank expression. That moment that lasted less than a second felt like an eternity. It's over. In a place like this. I know, this is all a dream. All of it, including my success as an idol and my breakup with Donnie. I'm going to wake up under a thin blanket in the same old shabby inn, and go to the tavern where Donnie works to help him. Belle closed her eyes, and said farewell to this world. You know, an idol has to protect her face. But someone would not let her give up. Adventurers who don't believe in humanity will save the world, Chapter 52, Agate the Idol / The Legend of the Paladin Part 4. What? It didn't hurt. Dying was surprisingly painless. Or at least that was what Belle thought, but she grossly misunderstood what was happening. Are you alright? Belle opened her eyes, and what she saw surprised her. It was a world of ice. Walls of ice, clear like glass, were sprouting from the floor. Even the huge ebony table was completely stopped by the ice pillars that emerged from the floor to protect the panicked guests. It was magic, ice shield to be exact. It was used when monsters appeared on the highway and adventurers took them down. Belle saw it being used once, but it was not as flashy and its scale was much smaller than the one she was currently watching. It was used to protect against arrows or magic of the opposite attribute, and it should in no way be tough enough to stop a wooden table descending at 100 kilometers an hour. It was a shield in the first place, and not a wall. The person that used this incredible magic had a cool look on their face. Belle forgot about her situation, and even about her occupation, and stared at this mysterious sorcerer. How beautiful! Even Belle, who was used to being around idols, was captivated by this beautiful woman. Her blonde hair looked sublime and beautiful, her body, while feminine, was as tight as a stretched bow, and above all, her cool facial features were sharp, almost in a manly way. Thank you. No problem, Miss Idol. But she smiled like a goddess, seemingly overflowing with love. Belle was suddenly startled when she noticed something. This person knew she was an idol. This will be over soon, so stay low for a little longer. Why yesh. This conversation attracted the attention of the being responsible for this atrocity. I finally found you. I'd recognize that stench anywhere, Nick. Come on, you stubborn tiger. Who the hell are you? Screamed the tiger, but Belle was not afraid, as she could not imagine the sorcerer that protected her losing. After Nick and Tiana fused, their body was overflowing with tremendous magic energy, which they used to temporarily summon a harsh winter. This magic, Ice Age, did not temporarily create ice and lower temperatures, but rather, it created barriers and allowed the user to control the cold air inside the area at will. Inside that area, they could use magic like Ice Shield anywhere they wanted and in any shape they wanted, for example. Gwoo! Leon jumped at them with tremendous weight and speed, but his huge body was pierced by huge spear-like icicles. Ice Spear. Spears appeared from the ceiling, walls and floor. It was the superior version of Icicle Dance, and it originally only allowed the user to fire a single ice stake, but Nick/Tiana could freely fire them from wherever they wanted. Guga! What is this magic? Do not panic, Leon. Remember, I am here with you. Now go wild. You! A strange voice echoed, and something surprising happened. The limbs of the tiger monster started expanding, not like a balloon, rather, his hard muscles became harder and harder. Leon contracted his muscles, and broke the ice spears. His wounds were also healed as though nothing happened. Ah! That's right, Leon. Now keep using me in that manner. Shut up. Let me do what I want. Wait, aren't you alone? Nick/Tiana were puzzled as they watched Leon have a conversation with a strange voice. The Sword of Bonds interjected. That voice. You are the Sword of Evolution, are you not? The Sword of Bonds. It has been a few hundreds of years. Do you know what that is, Bond? Why yes. We were developed around the same time. Owner of the Sword of Bonds, I am the Sword of Evolution, also known as the Mad Moon Sword. I am the one true sacred sword. Or at least that is what I wish I could say, but I was removed from the plan to defeat the Demon King in the examination stage. It certainly is a strange twist of fate that I happen to meet another sacred sword in another era. Said the Mad Moon Sword with a somewhat cynical tone, to which the Sword of Bonds responded with anger. Foolishness. You were disqualified due to not following the regulations long before that. If you keep using that sword you will cease to be human. Cease to be human. Nick/Tiana were shocked. Yes, this sword has a function, in the same manner that I have union. It is called evolution. Just as the Sword of Bonds started explaining. Stop jabbering. Leon attacked Nick/Tiana once again. Listen. None of that matters at this point. I don't care what I have to do if I can just kill you. Cool, Leon. You were never such a hasty guy. You were more, crafty. Shut up. The sword that Leon held was shaped with magic energy, just like the Sword of Bonds. With a moon-like golden shine, the Mad Moon Sword attacked Nick/Tiana. It is no use. He is in an excited state due to the Mad Moon Sword, and even though he can speak, your words will not get through to him. That's awful. Didn't you say magic swords couldn't drive people mad? That is precisely why it dropped out of the development competition and was sealed away. Good grief, to rely on such a dangerous thing. Fufen, say what you want. It is my first time facing the Sword of Bonds, but I have to say, I am disappointed. Are you powerless before my evolution function? Whispered the Mad Moon Sword with a sneer. Humph, that is my line. You do nothing but rely on brute force. Magic attacks will not work, we have you beat in terms of physical strength, and this is far from the full extent of my power. What will you do, Sword of Bonds? Stop jabbering. We're the ones fighting. A light that looked like a flash of lightning ran through the swords as they clashed. Guga. Combining a sword and a staff sure is useful. Should we call this Sorcerer's Sword? Something that looked like smoke was coming out of Leon's body, and his arm was mercilessly burned all over. He had been struck with a lightning attack at close range. Leon stumbled, and was pierced by ice spears once again. How's that? Skillful. But we can be restored as many times as necessary. The Mad Moon Sword started shining again, and once again, Leon's body was restored, and his wounds were gone. This time, his muscles became even bigger, as he used evolution to become stronger as he healed his wounds. Fuhahaha. I am a slow starter, but I remember all the attacks we receive. They will not work again, and there is no way to defeat me. No, well, there's at least 3 ways. If we can simply destroy you, it will be all over, or we could freeze you instead of trying to damage you. You are surprisingly cowardly to be playing around with bluffs. Why do you not try it, if you are so confident in the success of your plans? You're an important piece of evidence, so if we destroy you, it will be a pain later, and they're not even done assessing how much Leon needs to pay, let alone actually paying reparations. If he dies, it will trouble all of his victims, so. Nick/Tiana, with an alluring smile on their face, picked something up off the ground. The kindest option is to make you surrender. What Nick/Tiana picked up was something fundamental to any casino. A stack of cards. Adventurers who don't believe in humanity will save the world, Chapter 53, The Legend of the Paladin Part 5. Nick/Tiana smiled daringly, as they played with the cards in their hands. And what exactly do you plan on doing with that toy? It has a lot of uses. Do not make me laugh. Leon. Leon started moving in response to the Mad Moon Sword, and the golden shine attacked Nick/Tiana. Urua. Don't even try to stop it. You pretty much can't use magic of the opposite element, fire, while Ice Age is active, unless you can use magic of the same level. Leon charged at Leon/Tiana, who attacked once again with ice spears. But. Idiots, do not be careless. Sharply shouted the Sword of Bonds, as the Mad Moon Sword started emitting an unnerving shine, reminiscent of a full moon. Leon, take my full divine protection. Ho! What? Leon's arms, legs, and chest region were covered in a shell, much like that of a crustacean, and the rest of his body was covered with white fur. Basically, he looked like a white bear wearing metal armor. His appearance was getting further and further away from that of a person. You can now move freely in intense cold, and have armor that protects you against ice spears. I wanted to do a little more but. Without using fire magic, this is the optimal way to break through the ice. Eat this. After transforming into a different beast, Leon attacked fiercely, easily destroying the ice shield, and ran towards Nick/Tiana. Cool. I do not know what you were scheming, but I believe it is safe to assume it will not work anymore. Yes, what are you doing? They were locked sword to sword, and the cards that Nick/Tiana were playing with became scattered around them. Leon used his big body to slowly push them back. It seems that it's true that when the user is bathed with the light of the Sword of Evolution, they evolve, or rather, are forced to evolve. That divine protection can also be dangerous. Mumbled the Sword of Bonds with an annoyed voice. It is misleading to use the word forced, all I do is grant what is necessary. Strong enough muscles to repel attacks for those who were cut by swords, a body that can withstand low temperatures for those who are unable to move due to cold. Can you really not call this a blessing? It is no different than using bait to fish, is it? It seems we have different opinions. What is that awkward form in the first place? All you do is senselessly combine different animals. Interesting, coming from something that can do nothing but combine different people. How foolish you are, to think you can beat me by simply increasing magic energy and using more powerful spells. What did you say? Meanwhile, Nick/Tiana fearlessly smiled. We could do without all this arguing. There. Nick/Tiana skillfully threw their last remaining card towards Leon. The moisture and ice acted as an adhesive, and it was stuck right on top of Leon's eye. Guh. That's not fair. Who cares about fairness at a time like this? Nick/Tiana used this distraction to get close, kick up a sofa that was turned over, and cut it. The cotton stuffed inside rained upon them like snow. I don't know what you're doing, but this isn't a game. Leon peeled off the card stuck to his face and glared at Nick/Tiana, but they paid no heed, and pulled cotton from the sofa to freeze it, and make an ice spear. Moo. Leon, this does not look good. Defend. Defend this. It was vigorously shot out, much like the ice spears from earlier, the only visible difference being the muddy white color caused by the cotton inside. But. Gua. Unlike the last spears, this one pierced the shell on Leon's arm, and fresh blood started dripping. I don't know why, but ice with cotton inside is really tough. It won't break even if you hit it with a hammer. Did you know? The cotton fibers become entangled with the ice, and display surprising toughness. Furthermore, the ice spears created by Nick/Tiana incorporated magic energy in the ice itself, so they maintained incredible low temperatures and hardness. This synergy made the ice spear strong enough to easily rip apart steel. Tch. You savage scraps of the ancient civilization. It was the Mad Moon Sword's turn to mumble in an annoyed manner, to which the Sword of Bonds happily sneered. Good grief, it is that condescending attitude that leads you to failure. Quiet. Both the cards and the cotton are but petty tricks that showcase how weak you are. Leon. Harder. Stronger. Once again, the Sword of Evolution emitted an enchanting shine, and with an howl, Leon's fiendish evolution advanced further. But suddenly, the Sword of Evolution said something with a puzzled tone. Moo. What is that on your back, Leon? Grr. There were cards stuck on Leon's back, and not just one or two, there were cards entangled all over his fur. They were the cards that were scattered when they were locked sword to sword. Guo. Leon showed no signs of stopping, and attacked Nick/Tiana, violently swinging his sword. Ku. Leon, listen. First we need to understand what the enemy is. Did I raise his combat instincts too far? Wops. Nick/Tiana boldly dealt with the attack, using an ice shield with cotton to block Leon's violent attack. Damn it, stop moving. Don't run. You're in no place to say that. Nick/Tiana did more than just run. Leaf fall. Nick/Tiana quietly cast a spell, which was the most elementary of wind spells, and created enough wind to lift fallen leaves and kick up dust. There weren't any leaves inside that room, but there were plenty of cards. What? What are you planning? More cards clung to Leon's body, and before he knew it, he was covered in them. Continuing to make the skin harder backfired. Having armor like a steel wall that can't be hurt means his senses aren't very sharp. W. What is this? Hey. What is the matter, Leon? The more cards became stuck to his body, the slower Leon's movements became. It was as though his strength was fading. Mad Moon Sword, correct? You said the moonlight that messes with the user's body is the power of evolution, didn't you? See, correct, that is my function. Every time the sword shines, Leon evolves, so the light is the source of his power, right? What are you trying to say? What if the light can't reach? Ah. The Mad Moon Sword let out a foolish-sounding voice. And no, wait. There is no way a paper defense can block moonlight filled with magic energy. You think so, right? This is a casino, and the cards use nice paper and ink to prevent cheating. The cards repel magic energy. What did you say? The Mad Moon Sword was shocked. What is the point of using such a thing for something as trivial as gambling? Even in the age of the ancient civilization, anti-magic ink was a prized item. Do you not find the existence of gambling dens immoral in the first place? Why is something that controls people and makes them go berserk talking about ethics? Nick/Tiana shrugged. We do have a code of ethics. We cannot gamble or attend sexual-related entertainment unless instigated by our users. For all its cunningness, it does seem ignorant about the world around it, does it not? Said the Sword of Bonds with a sigh. Ignorant. Me. Unforgivable. The enraged Mad Moon Sword intensified its shine, but rather than Leon's body reacting to it, it seemed to shrink further. What stood before them was no longer a wild beast, but simply Leon, the tiger person. Torya. Nick/Tiana approached the weakened Leon and swung their sword upwards, aiming for the Mad Moon Sword's guard. With a sharp flash, the Mad Moon Sword was sent flying. Ice Coffin. Gua. Nick/Tiana's magic sealed the Mad Moon Sword in ice. It was a magic barrier created with ice and magic energy. Like Ice Age, this was usually very difficult magic that required several people to cast, but Nick/Tiana could perform it on the spot. And that's that. Why, yes. To be honest, I did not expect you to be able to do this much. The Sword of Bonds was impressed. Really? For an artifact, its thinking was very shallow. You say that, but we do not know much outside of the research facilities where we were developed. We did not have any combat experience outside of testing facilities, and the strength of the sword is important, but the strength of the user is much more important. No kidding. Adventurers who don't believe in humanity will save the world, Chapter 54, The Legend of the Paladin Part 6. The Order of the Sun rushed to the scene, and Nick and Tiana left the collapsed Leon and the results of his rampage up to them to clean up. If they were questioned while still in their union form, it might have come to light that they held on to the sacred sword, so they fled the scene. The casino was left in an awful state, but fortunately, this meant that the Order of the Sun could not afford to chase Nick and Tiana. There was a lot of damage and chaos, but above all else, the Order of the Sun had to secure Leon, who escaped from their captivity. A week later. So you want to visit? Are you alone? Yes. The Order of the Sun's detention facility was always very strict, especially towards adventurers. As Nick walked through the station's pathway, he could feel the piercing stares. A lot of adventurers were vulgar, and many made money going after criminals and wanted individuals, which was supposed to be the Order of the Sun's job. Because of this, the Guild and the Order of the Sun were in a constant state of Cold War. Listen, Leon's trial isn't officially over. You're being given a special pass to meet him because you provided proof of his scams, but if you do anything that interferes with our job, you'll be thrown out immediately, understood? This sort of intimidation was nothing unusual. It won't take long. And there will be someone with you observing any suspicious movements. I understand. Nick inserted a silver coin in that person's sleeve. It is the Order's duty to treat citizens with kindness, so I suppose we can extend your meeting's duration, but you cannot remain by yourself. How about some distance? Fine. The knight nodded in an exaggerated manner. Nick couldn't see the knight's expression due to the helmet with a visor, but the knight didn't seem very honest. Nick was led through a damp and gloomy-looking stone hallway. The knight opened a few locked doors, and a metallic sound echoed. This is it. Nick found himself on a strangely intimidating floor with a low ceiling. There were 6 rooms with iron bars and stone walls. They were cells. Coincidentally, only one room was occupied. Oh, it's you. Hi, you look good. Ha, what's good about this? The prisoner was Leon. The knight that accompanied Nick waited by the exit, far enough to not be able to listen, courtesy of what he received in his sleeve. So what do you want? Did you come to look at the guy you beat twice? Said Leon in a self-deprecating manner. Yes, I'm here to see you. What's with that? Well, if you want to look then look. Go away when you're done. Leon, perplexed, sighed, but there was no sign of the irritation and anger from the last time they met. Nick, thinking this was strange, stared at Leon. What? Did you seriously only come here to look at my face? And no, I was just expecting more complaints and insults. Idiot, what if I do that and they start treating me worse? I guess you have a point. Nick was thrown off by this, and scratched his head. Well, I'm actually here to ask something. But first, I'll explain what happened afterwards. Oh. The casino, the building itself, suffered quite a bit of damage, but there were no human casualties. I mean, some people were hurt, but no one died. Actually, the ones that were hurt the most were the knights that were with you when you escaped. Humph. You did a good job holding back, which means you still had some sense left in you, right? I dunno. Claudine and Beck were taken away too. They're being accused of fraud, extortion and marriage fraud, so I'm guessing they'll be locked up for a while. I guess. The Sword of Evolution was sealed away. No one knows where it is. Nick said while keeping his voice down, and there was finally some emotion on Leon's face. So that blonde girl really was you. When did you start dressing like a woman? There was a little change in my mental state. It's not good for people to let stress pile up without releasing it once in a while. Leon glared at Nick with a frightful expression. I'm just kidding, don't be so mad. TCH. So you had a sacred sword too, Yes. Why are you telling me? The real question is why did you keep quiet about it? I know you realized it well before I told you. I don't really like the idea of you people being paraded around as heroes. Mumbled Leon with a sour expression. I guess that's fine then. But if it causes problems for you, I'll tell everyone that'll listen. If that time comes, I'll have my fill of being treated like a hero, just like you said. It was just a bluff. If Leon blabbed about this, survivors would be in trouble. One of Nick's reasons for coming to this place was to see what Leon knew, and what he intended to do, since he was the only one that knew who the person he fought in the casino was. He was relieved to see that it didn't seem like Leon had any intention of spreading that information. You really are an irritating guy. Same to you. Let's get into the main point. What is it? Where did you find that sword? Like I'd tell you. Yeah, I guess you wouldn't. Nick sighed, and took out a piece of paper from his pocket. What's that? A lawyer's card. He's used to dealing with host club employees and gangsters. That's not what I meant. I'll introduce him to you if you tell me. It was quiet for a while, and after a few minutes, Leon spoke. What are you going to do if I tell you? Nothing really. Bond. Our sacred sword wants to investigate, and keeps saying he doesn't want the legacy of the ancient civilization to be used by weird people. Aren't you personally interested? One annoying little guy is enough for me. Gimme that. Here. I'm just going to say it, I'm not paying. You have a lot saved up, don't you? Nick tossed the paper to Leon, who looked at it for a bit, and put it away inside his clothes. And don't expect too much from a lawyer. You're definitely not going to be declared innocent, so be ready to count your sentence in years. I get that. I found it on the last floor of Metal Moon Hell. That be ranked 1. Yes, a long time ago, a party called Silver Tiger Crew conquered it, but the guild keeps records of what was picked up and how it was conquered. Once the labyrinth structure is understood, there's no artifacts left. Got it. Nick. What happened to the Sword of Evolution? It's been sealed. I'm not telling you where. No, that's good, don't tell anyone, not even the guild or the order. I won't tell anyone about your sacred sword either. That's very nice of you. I guess, but honestly, I'm relieved. Secretly having the Mad Moon sword was a burden. I thought it'd be a trump card, but it's more like a bomb. I'm giving up on that, and even the idea of eating bad food for a while doesn't seem so bad in comparison. Leon's expression was surprisingly peaceful. Nick was surprised. He thought it would be very difficult to get him to talk. You've changed. Jokes aside, Nick, listen. Nick felt the pressure of Leon's serious tone, and quietly listened. There are people here in Labyrinth City after the legacy of the ancient civilization. They're so good at finding out people's weak points that they can even trounce high-rank adventurers, and they stop at nothing to get what they want. Thinking back, they were probably the ones that caused the Silver Tiger Crew to collapse. Ah. What's this all of a sudden? Nick was confused by the sudden shift in the conversation. The Silver Tiger Crew successfully conquered Mad Moon Hell and got a hold of some artifacts. Because of this, all sorts of merchants and proxies for nobles approached them wanting to buy them, but among them, there was one person that convinced a member of the party to betray their comrades and sell the artifacts on the black market. Thinking about it now, the sale itself wasn't the objective, it was a means to destroy the party. All to make sure the artifacts were taken. Hold on, I'm not following you. Go to the guild and look up what happened to the Silver Tiger Crew. You'll know what I mean. Alright. When we started making good money with the Steel Tiger Crew, I started looking into what happened back then. The Silver Tiger Crew's member was tricked by a blonde longsword user with a fake name. I still don't know his real name. But I think he goes by Karios nowadays. Adventurers who don't believe in humanity will save the world, Chapter 55, The Legend of the Paladin Part 7. Are you? Anyway, you're keeping that sacred sword a secret, right? That's the right choice, keep doing that and don't let yourself be targeted. If you have a problem with that, become strong enough to beat anyone that goes after you. It's not just a matter of physical strength though, it's also about power and money. Tell me more about those people that might come after me. And did you say Karios? I can tell you but. Leon pointed towards Nick's back with his chin. Nick looked back, and saw that the knight from the Order of the Sun had gotten up from his chair and was approaching them. Time's up. Ah, I get it. Bring me something next time you come. Ah, I don't need booze, but you can bring me some paper rolled tobacco or candy. The food here's terrible. You can deal with that much. Didn't you say you were comfortable? It's fine, aside from my eating habits. Jeez. Nick smacked his lips as he stood up. He accomplished what he went there for, but felt like an even bigger problem in need of solution was thrust upon him. Nick let out a sigh of exhaustion as he exited the Order of the Sun's detention facility. I'm home. This isn't your home. Nick opened the door to Tiana's apartment, and was greeted by an exasperated Tiana. In the back were Bond, Sem, and Karen, chuckling. How about renting a place like a conference room or something? Or renting a big apartment for everyone, or a detached house to be used as both a storage room and conference room? said Nick, but it did not improve Tiana's mood. I don't want to take rent money out of our wallet every month. That's why I let you come here in the first place. It's the best option. So you better be thankful. Yes, I am. Good. Said Tiana with a self-important smile as she crossed her arms. So, Nick, how did it go? Asked Bond. Nick's party gathered in Tiana's room, waiting for him to come back, as the result of Nick's conversation with Leon could very well dictate their next course of action. Everyone was curious, waiting for Nick to speak, but he looked puzzled. You already know, don't you? Bond heard everything with telepath. I thought it would be insipid for me to tell everyone, so I stayed quiet. Hey! Everyone glared at Bond, who laughed with a fresh look on his face. Come now, this sort of thing should be heard from the man himself. Bond looked at Nick meaningfully. It was true that Nick should tell this story directly, and it was too heavy for Bond to relay to everyone else. Oh, all right. No one knows, at least for now. He's not going to tell either. I see, that's good. Sem let out a sigh of relief. But it was difficult for Nick to say, and he looked at Karen. What? Want some? Karen was wolfing down peeled oranges. The town market was full of citrus fruits at that time of the year. Karen bought a mountain of fruit and placed them on top of a table. You can keep eating, but I have something to say. Why, yes. Karen couldn't see where this was going, and nodded. Nick started telling everyone about his conversation with Leon, and the softness on Karen's face slowly faded away. Let's summarize. First, there are strange bandits targeting artifacts, so we need to watch out. Second. Nick looked at Karen. She had the same intense look on her face she had when she faced tough opponents on their adventures. With that intense look on her face, Karen crushed an orange in her mouth and swallowed. Nick. What? Leave that sort of serious stuff until after I'm done eating. Sorry. Karen complained, as her face became a little red. Anyway. That's a clue about Karios, isn't it? Whispered Karen, and Nick nodded. Karios was the name of the leader of the party that led Karen into a trap. His blonde hair and him using a long sword also matched Karen's description. He took Karen's Dragon King orb and ran, and was an enemy that had to be tracked down no matter what. Yes, it seems he was active here in the Labyrinth City a few years ago. And Leon's artifact was stolen? Apparently. Nick nodded. So, do you think he got away from the Labyrinth City because he managed to get his hand on a huge sum of money? The man calling himself Karios stole something very valuable from Leon's Silver Tiger crew, and yet, he continued scamming people like how he tricked Karen. So, it seemed logical that those items brought him a tremendous level of wealth. Karen's guess may have been correct. I get what you're trying to say, but we don't actually know where he is right now. Yes, I know, it happened a long time ago anyway. It's the same name, but that means he used that fake name all this time, which is kind of weird. Karen was calmer than Nick had anticipated. She had a serious look on her face as she processed what she was hearing, but she did not seem anxious or angry. But it's good that we have more clues. Thanks, Nick. Why, yes. Nick's face became a little red as he heard such a sincere thank you, and he looked away from Karen. Anyway, I'll look into this Silver Tiger crew. If they got into trouble because they had artifacts, that also concerns us. Yes, we need to brace ourselves. Said Bond, before once again being the target of everyone's glares. Why, you must realize I am a victim as well. I had no way of knowing about artifact robberies while I was sealed away. Then start acting like this concerns you. Of course. You can rest assured knowing that I will be assisting you. Bond proudly puffed his chest, to which, Nick only shrugged. Anyway, we need to be careful and not rush things, Karen. Come on, don't worry about me. Is it really that surprising? said Karen, sounding discontent. Don't be mad, but I was thinking about what I was going to do if you just rushed out of here. Idiot. Karen threw an orange at Nick, who caught it with his right hand. I feel like I understand, after that duel with Claudine and Leon. Understand what? Problems can't be solved just by hitting and being hit. No, we hit each other a lot, and just the other we almost killed each other. That's not what I mean. I know, I'm joking. Jeez. You pick some weird things to joke about. Karen cleared her throat. Investigate, formulate a strategy, and investigate further to make sure there aren't any holes. I've never done something like that, but I assume it comes naturally to smart people. Karen. I can't do that now, at least not by myself, but I need this sort of thing if I'm ever going to find Karios and get my treasure back. That's why I learned a lot this time. In more ways than one. Yes. I spent so much time solving problems, and when the duel was over, you told me I had more homework to do. It's important to train every day. Nick grinned while Karen complained, but she was making a serious effort, even as she complained. Tiana knew this, and pat Karen's head. This sight felt like a ray of sunshine hitting Nick's heart. He didn't really feel that good after defeating Leon and Claudine, even though he did feel like a bone stuck in his throat had been removed. He had some lingering bitterness in his heart, but now, he felt as though it was being cleared away. The way Karen was moving forward and growing step by step gave Nick a real sense of accomplishment. What? Why is everyone laughing? Don't worry about it. Before she knew it, the other three had joined Nick and were also smiling. Karen felt a little embarrassed. Don't make those weird faces. Listen. Yes. This whole thing finally ended and I'm tired of staying inside studying. I want to go out. Everyone agreed with Karen. Survivors had to concentrate completely on the duel with Leon, and Nick haven't even gone out to watch live shows for a while. Yes, I tried going out to release stress, but it turned into a huge mess. That's right. I guess we can finally feel relieved. Being holed up inside is bad for your health. Tiana, Sem, and Bond all cheerfully laughed. Right? Nick, first, you need to sit down and rest. You're tired, aren't you? Yes. Should we make some tea? Sem, why do you use the teapot in my room like it's normal? Shouldn't I? There's some good medicinal herb tea. It's fine, but... Is medicinal herb tea good? Nick thoughtlessly interjected as he looked around the room. Haven't you been getting too much stuff for your room, Tiana? You have so many magic books and tools for magic experiments, that your room has a tendency to become dirty. Stop. That goes against the rule to not meddle in others' private business. That's true, sorry. I think this is the part where you are supposed to help her clean. It's fine like this, Tinana remarked. Nick sipped the medicinal herb tea that Sem handed to him, and its refreshing taste permeated through his tired body. Adventurers who don't believe in humanity will save the world, Chapter 56, Karen's casual stroll through the labyrinth city. Rosy cheek raspberries of Mount Sabbath and Skull vanilla ice cream. Karen wanted to eat something sweet, for no particular reason. Well, there was one. She was very jealous when she heard Bond talk about the ice cream he ate in the casino. Isn't that just a little unfair, she thought, like a child having a tantrum. She imagined a scene where she was gallantly walking on top of a red carpet as she listens to the sound of a chic piano. She walked to a bar counter, sat down and is presented with beautiful ice cream made by a veteran pâtissier. Just imagining this filled Karen's mouth with a sweet taste. Lost in her thought, she started muttering to herself. Calm down, Karen. You just want to eat something sweet. What did you say, Karen? And nothing. Tiana and Karen were riding one of the stagecoaches that circulated around Labyrinth City. The casino would be closed for a while, courtesy of Leon's Rampage, and other places that served good ice cream were not within walking distance. Even if they were, they would not be good enough to justify their prices. That was why they decided to head to the north side of the city. Karen was going by herself, but walking so far north was inconvenient, so Tiana volunteered to be her guide. We're getting off at the next stop. The fare is 200 dinner. Yes. Most people like them, adventurers, settled down in the south, due to it being easier to travel to labyrinths through the southern gate. In the northern side however, there weren't many labyrinths, which meant fewer monster attacks, and with that, a more affluent population. Tiana had traveled there a few times before, but Karen was new to the area. Not everyone was brave enough to visit such a place with an adventurer's wallet. When you want to eat something sweet, look for sorcerers. Why? When making sweets, you need to closely follow a process and weigh things more precisely than when you're cooking. You need to use a scale, ice or fire magic, and stuff like that, so people studying magic often switch occupations and become pâtissiers. That's why you shouldn't go near the guild or blacksmith streets when you want something sweet. And don't worry, it's not that expensive. Karen didn't trust Tiana, not that expensive, but could not fight the allure of sweets. The moment she decided to be brave, the conductor announced the next stop with a sluggish voice. Next stop Sabbath Hill. Sabbath Hill. Sabbath Hill. Despite the dangerous-sounding name, it was a stylish place frequented by young people. It had many schools for children of nobles, including ones exclusively for magic, but it also had a shopping district where high society students could do their shopping and play around. Young sorcerers with tidy robes with no dirt from traveling, monster blood, or chemical burns from experiments happily talked as they smugly walked around town. This way. Yes. Tiana quickly walked through Sabbath Hill. The students sensed danger coming from them and moved out of the way, but also looked on with curiosity. Karen started feeling awkward and out of place. Cool. Are they adventurers? But despite the curious looks, they were not being mocked, rather, they were drawing attention in a good sense. It was not like she was not out of place, but it tickled a little. The casino is closed, so we had no other choice but to come. Do you want to do a little shopping? Do you come here often? If I have money. Being a sorcerer sounds expensive. That's quite true. Even if I had more money, I doubt any sum would be enough. Tiana let out a strained laugh as she looked at Karen. Tiana was even smaller than the students, but her refined movements and posture, and the quality of her outfit were real. The students walking opposite to her made way for her, feeling she was not just some nobody. Obviously, this aura around Tiana was not just for show. She was thrown out of a noble household, but had the toughness to keep going, and was able to mow down monsters. Her eyes looked different than Nick and Sem's, and Karen respected her. I want to stop by that place. Tiana pointed towards a mass retailer of magic items. It only sold consumer products, so obviously, it was not the kind of place where you could find artifacts like the Sword of Bonds or telepath stones. They were everyday items like candlesticks that did not need oil or magic bottles that boiled water. What are you buying? A jar where I can keep meals and bread and stuff like that. The inside is filled with cold air, so food keeps for longer. Karen wanted one as well. She liked to eat in restaurants and taverns, but she also liked going to stalls and bringing food home. And I want to keep food that Sem or Nick make. Sem and Nick were usually in charge of cooking when they were out exploring labyrinths. Nick was used to labyrinth exploration, and was good at cooking outdoors. He knew how to cook dried meat, or meat from rabbits and birds they hunted with ingredients like wild grass, and how to make dry bread and other preserved foods very tasty. Sem knew a lot about medical care and medicinal herbs, so he was in charge of everyone's health. He also used to take care of children in the temple, so he was good at cooking for several people. Don't you cook for yourself? I can't be bothered. Tiana shrugged. I want to hire a housemaid to take care of that sort of thing, but I still don't have the savings to afford that. What do you usually do, Karen? In the morning I eat with Nick in the market. For lunch and dinner. I eat out. So you can't be bothered either. Ah, this one's good. Tiana grabbed a jar. On the side of this white porcelain jar there was a magic stone, the core to activate this magic item. It had a simple design without a lot of ornaments, but had flower petals carved around the magic stone. Magic items were always designed to attract attention to the fact that they were magic items. Karen couldn't tell a good magic item or household item from a bad one, and envied Tiana's discerning eye. And then, a man with a nice physique passed behind Tiana. The store was narrow, and the man forcibly trying to get through, hit Tiana's back with his elbow. Ouch! Hey! Shut up, little girl. You're in the way. Tiana almost dropped the jar, but Karen grabbed her, who then glared at the man that bumped into Tiana. You're the one that needs to be careful. You. A dragon person's glare was more intimidating than just any man. Karen was still young as a warrior, but her experiences in the labyrinth city definitely made her stronger. The merchant man broke out into a cold sweat, and was completely frozen in place. Ah, I don't care, just go away. Why yes. The man ran with his tail between his legs, and the employee that heard the commotion apologized. I'm very sorry for the trouble. It's fine, it wasn't your fault. By the way, how much is this jar? Let me see. The employee started negotiating, even as he was scared by Tiana's bright smile. Thanks for that, Karen. After finishing Tiana's shopping, the pair went to a nearby sweets shop to take a break. The ice cream they were served was even grander than Karen imagined. On a white porcelain plate there were 2 flavors of ice cream, pink raspberry and pure white vanilla, with wafers. The menu called it Rosy Cheek Strawberry and Skull Vanilla Ice Cream. The name was a little unsettling, but the menu had an explanation. Its motif was, even if you wake up with rosy cheeks, your white skull will start showing as the day progresses, a poem about the listlessness of daily life. But apparently the pâtissier that thought of it wanted it to be a positive message to the young people that frequented that place. You never know when you're going to die, so eat ice cream while you can and enjoy your life. Most of the menu carried that kind of message. Whichever way you look at it, it was delicious. The flavor and acidity of the raspberries was very strong, and it felt like it prickled the tongue, but when eaten with the wafers and vanilla, it became surprisingly smooth. Apparently, the rusticity and strong flavor of the raspberries was meant to symbolize life, and the refreshing taste of the vanilla was meant to symbolize death. Karen felt like she wouldn't get along with this pâtissier, but he was so good at his job that it could bridge the gap in their ideology. Karen was so focused on her ice cream, that it took a while for her to realize that Tiana was speaking to her. Phew. Tiana laughed at this half-hearted reply. I'm talking about what happened earlier when I was buying that jar. People look down on me when I'm alone, so I find it hard to stand up for myself. Why? Karen didn't understand at first. She genuinely just wondered if there were idiots out there that didn't realize how great Tiana was. Because I'm so short. Nick says he's short and doesn't have muscle, but he's way better off than me. Right? Tiana mumbled as she scooped up ice cream and ate it. This felt much more appropriate for a girl her age than when she smoked and enthusiastically gambled. Oh, that. What do you mean, oh that? Karen felt a little inferior to Tiana. There were many things she lacked compared to her, but what Tiana thought about was not that much different than her. Karen knew that Tiana understood the world around her a lot better than her, but still, she had trivial concerns about her daily life, and desires like wanting to eat something. Everyone was like that, even people that looked at her with antagonistic eyes. No one was perfect, and people with those kinds of weaknesses could be surprisingly strong, like Karen and Tiana. Good Tiana, said Karen, as she patted Tiana's head. I don't really get it, but all right. It's fine. It's fine. Tiana let out an exasperated sigh, but didn't seem too bothered as she continued to eat her ice cream. Adventurers who don't believe in humanity will save the world, Chapter 57, Sem's Red Light District Guide, or a story about how clownfish change genders. Nick let out a sigh filled with anguish. Ah. I think all of this was a huge success. I guess. There was a reward from the guild. Once the trial is over, you'll get back the money that was stolen from you, and above all else, you got closure, right? No doubt about it. Ah, thanks for the lawyer's card. The conversation went smoothly. No problem. Red, right? Where did you meet him? The card that Nick gave to Leon had Southgate Law Firm Red Chambers written on it. Nick thought the name sounded cool, and pictured a really tough guy. Lots of ladies want to be friendly with doctors and lawyers. This in turn leads to me meeting and being friendly too. Sounds reassuring. Then why the grim face? Nick put his hand on forehead and sighed again. 2 reasons. Can I hear them? Yes. First. Yes. It's true that those places where girls serve drinks are not for me. Yes. But what mental gymnastics led you to choose a transvestite bar because of it? Nick and Sem were in a rather eccentric bar, even for the Labyrinth City. It was a transvestite bar named Sea Anemone, and they were sitting at the back counter. Oh. Don't you like it? That's not it. It's not something that I've ever thought about liking or disliking. Nick glanced at the counter, and saw a man that did not look at all like a man, a mysterious man that could just barely be distinguished from a woman, and a man he thought could stand to gain from trying a little harder. Have something to say? Sem. This boy is so cold. But he's cute. How old are you? Ha ha ha. Go easy on him, it's his first time here. The employees laughed as they made fun of Nick. Sem was completely unfazed. Nick almost said that Sem was crazy, but remembered the rule to not interfere in each other's private lives, and held it back. No, I don't anything to say other than that I want another drink. And can I get something to eat here? Yes. All the employees had somewhat husky voices, but if you told someone they were women with deep voices, they would believe it, probably a result of voice training. And just the other day Leon was talking about me liking to dress up like a woman. Do you want to try? They'll lend you a makeup set if you ask. Why would I? Nick then noticed the dubious stares coming from the amused employees on the other side of the counter. Want to try? And no. Absolutely not. What a shame. Be sure to tell if you change your mind. Said the employee while smiling and placing plates in front of Sem and Nick. On the plate were traveling dove meat, onion, fava beans and mushrooms seasoned and cooked with tomato and chili pepper. This type of cuisine was brought from another country a long time ago, but people in the Labyrinth City had been eating it for over 100 years, and it had taken root completely. Many had even forgotten it originally came from somewhere else, and called it labyrinth stew or labyrinth chicken. When they camped out during their adventures, Nick would catch wild birds and make a similar dish. His parents used to make it often, and he remembered how to do it. The other party members seemed to like it, and Tiana would even take what was left home with her. It's pretty good. Right. Kai-ah. I'm so happy. The employee let out a saccharine voice in response to Nick's sincere opinion. But it's not better than mine. Nick, why are you competing about that? No, it's just kind of frustrating. It was actually good. It was too spicy to be eaten regularly, but it was perfect for such a bustling place. If it was a calmer place, I could really get into it. No, it's actually pretty calm. Is it? My back is kind of tingling. Said Nick, and Sem suddenly smiled. I'm scared of girls. Yes, you're scared of girls around 13 years old, right? Nick remembered Sem's story very well. A 13-year-old girl accused him of raping her, and as a result, he was expelled from his temple. That's not fear, that's more like psychological trauma. That's not it, I'm talking about women in general. I see. Nick was surprised, but at the same time, he could understand it. Sem went to a lot of places with girls. He was set up by a girl, and saved by a girl. It would be one thing if he was just set up or just saved, but having experienced both left a big mark on his heart. In a way, he felt weak, like he couldn't win against them. Even though he was afraid, he still enjoyed trying to overcome this fear. Diving headfirst into this fear was probably one of the reasons why he enjoyed going to places where he was served by girls. Yes. Girls are so scary. Still, we are girls at heart of Fufu. Well, if your heart says you're a girl, then that's fine. There's species that don't distinguish between men and women, and beings that fuse and you don't even know what gender they are. That's why you have to decide for yourself what you are. Said Nick, and the employee's expressions changed. What? I can see why Sem brought you. You show promise. Here's my business card. The mysterious employee that Nick couldn't tell was a man or a woman sat next to him, pulled out a business card from the chest, and put it close to the mouth, leaving a kiss mark on it before handing it to Nick. I'm not going to become a regular or anything. Oh. We're going to be related through work. A confused Nick looked at the business card, and was taken aback by what he read. Lawyer. Wait, are you? It read Southgate Law Firm Red Chambers. Yes. I'll be handling Leon's case. Seriously? Red winked, and Nick was at a complete loss as to what to say. It says Southgate Law Firm. Yes, it's this building. The first floor is the bar, and the second floor is the law firm. Is that even allowed? We have permission, so it's no problem. Red showed the cuffs on his suit as he explained, which had badges sewn on. They had an abstract design of a scale. This was something that only lawyers recognized by the country could wear. I'm Leon's lawyer, but I'm also in charge of making sure the reparations to you and the other victims goes smoothly. Let's make sure everyone comes out a winner. Why, yes. You can count on me, but we still have some time until the trial, so we can talk more about it later. Today, let's just have fun. Said Red while going back behind the counter. Nick was in stunned silence. What? Are you surprised? Of course I am. I don't even know what we were talking about. It was about girls being scary. That's right. Sem, girls are scary, and transvestites are scary too. That's true. But you're scary too, Sem. You examine and save a lot of people. Lawyers help all kinds of people too, and people with that kind of strong influence are scary. Sem looked as though those words hurt him somewhere. Scary? I mean, put yourself in the position of the people you heal or give medicine to. They must think that they can't upset you or you'll abandon them, right? Their future probably looks bleak if you stop giving them medicine or stop treating them. No, that's not my intention. Whether or not this could be believed was a different story. Furthermore, when Sem first got to the Labyrinth City, he realized he could use his healing magic and skills for his own profit, and even used it as a threat against a hostess bar that tried to rip him off. It's true, it's scary. People with power are scary, and a lot of people can't be defied. No matter how pure they seem. There was no guarantee that they would not have a change of heart. Sem and Nick purposefully did not say it. But Nick, it's incredible that you feel that way. Really? I mean, you were tricked by Claudine too, right? Don't talk about that. Nick stared at Sem, who smiled and apologized. Sorry. But they were probably scared of us. Somehow, I think they attacked us because they were scared. I see. Am I wrong? Asked Nick, and Sem shook his head. I don't know the truth, and you probably know more than me, but what I'm saying is that immediately attacking someone because they're scary and making them an enemy is way too hasty. That's true. On the other hand, talking to someone because they're scary takes courage too. In a way, you could say it's an unfavorable bet. Well, betting is scary. I'm sure Tiana would disagree though. Who knows, but I think I've collected my thoughts. I think I'm like Tiana and like betting. Don't play with fire too much, said Nick, and Sem grinned. This is no good. The idea was to hear your problems, and here I am getting advice. No, I don't have a lot on my mind. Which means there is something. What is it? Nick made a bitter face, and after a few moments of silence, he said what was troubling him, almost like it was forced out of his mouth. Break. Break? My favorite idol, Agate, decided to take a break. Adventurers who don't believe in humanity will save the world, Chapter 58, Legend of the Paladin Part 8. We have bought all your debt. Even your verbal promises. We will shoulder everything. You will not be targeted or pressed by debt collectors, and you will be able to walk around freely. 3 people sat in a small room composed of walls and a thin divider. A man dressed in black spoke with a plain and monotone voice, but to the man in front of him, what he was saying was extraordinary. His enormous debt would be wiped. But the man dressed in black stopped for a moment, before facing the man in front of him once again. The latter seemed hurt, and his arm was bandaged, but his sad and frustrated expression stood out more. Your relation to our agency's idol ends here. You must never see her again, and not talk to her even if you happen to bump into her accidentally. Also, you must never say anything about her to another person, no matter how trivial you think it is. If you do. The injured man shook with fear. We will immediately seek reimbursement for your debt, and leave the collection to specialists, of course. We will also seek the appropriate reparations if your actions have negative effects on her career as an idol. Do you understand what all of this means for your life? I do. The injured man did not try to meet the gaze of the man dressed in black. He awkwardly turned in his seat, and looked at the third person in the room with a pitiful expression. Belle, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for anything bad to happen so. Stop it, Donnie. But the third person, Belle, shook her head. I am Agate, not your Belle. That is what I'm going to be from now on, so forget about the past. The injured man, Donnie, dejectedly lowered his head. Some feelings of pity started welling up inside of Belle's heart. She did like him at some point, and she supported him from the bottom of her heart. It pained her to see how far he had fallen. That day when the mysterious monster attacked the casino and Donnie abandoned her, whatever they had between them was lost. She was ready to die when she was faced with that mysterious monster, but miraculously survived. Being saved and meeting that person was nothing short of a blessing from God. She was so elated after leaving the casino, that she carelessly told everything to her producer, including her relationship with Donnie, which she kept a secret. The producer, the man in black, was concerned. Agate being saved by the mysterious sorcerer truly was an epic tale and wonderful good luck, but he was more focused on the bad than the good. Agate not only had a boyfriend, but one whose behavior was shameful. To Belle, who was going to be even more active from then on, he was nothing more than a hindrance, a cancer that had to be removed. The producer proposed that they should break up as soon as possible, and he would even pay for him to go if necessary. If this incident did not happen, Belle would have been very troubled by her producer's proposal. Could she really cut ties with her boyfriend for the sake of her career? But now, it was something that was necessary for her to be able to move on. She had no intention of continuing their relationship the way it was, and wanted to settle things. If anything, she felt bad about her producer giving her his full support in this manner. Donnie. I wanted to stay with you and help you, but I can't anymore. Do your best without me, I won't ask you to cheer me on anymore. Said Belle, as she looked directly at Donnie, who upon listening to her resolute tone, said nothing more and silently signed the document that the man in black handed him. It was a contract that consolidated the man in black's proposal. This freed Donnie from the debt he had accumulated via gambling, and forced him to stay quiet about Belle's real identity. From that day forward, they would both move on with their lives, separately. "Sorry," Donnie said as he left the room, so quietly that he did not know if anyone heard it. Belle silently nodded. Belle let out a sigh of relief after Donnie left the office. She was relieved that the problem she had ignored for so long had come to an end, but there was also a touch of sadness. Still, this was not the end, it was in fact a new beginning. "I am so sorry for the trouble I caused you. I do not mind as long as you pay me back with your work." The producer remained composed, even as Belle apologized. He was probably upset, but did not show it. It was all for the sake of Belle's, or rather, Agate's activities as an idol, and Belle decided there was something she had to do. "So about the next job," said the producer, but was interrupted by Belle. "Producer, I want to make a new song." "Ho. I'm thinking about writing the lyrics too." "No, please let me write them." Up until that point, Belle had been proactive when it came to training and business activities, but more passive when it came to fundamentals like the course of her activities as an idol, or what songs she sang. It could be said that she was focused only on overcoming the hurdles right in front of her, and not carving out her own image as an idol. Up until this point. Have you decided what you want to sing? Songs that idols sang had a theme. The original troubadours did not sing just for the sake of it. They would travel to various countries and sing about the beautiful scenery they would see in their travels, and talk about the preciousness of love. People would hear their songs and picture the sights they sang about, allowing them to picture places that they would never see and people they would never meet. They were not just proud of their voices, spreading beauty through their songs was an important job. But just as important as this, was the choice of theme. "Yes, I've decided." Belle nodded strongly. After this, Belle cancelled her planned live events and suspended her activities as an idol. She spent the next month training to be a songwriter, and her days struggling to be a creator were beginning, as was her path to becoming a true idol. Adventurers who don't believe in humanity will save the world, Chapter 59, Legend of the Paladin Part 9. Agate's silence continued for a while, until she finally re-emerged. There were many rumors about her mysterious disappearance, and some nasty gossip as well, but few fans left her. Her fans were ecstatic when a schedule was posted in a park's notice board, and it listed a solo live event from Agate. There were even rumors that she had retired, so it came completely out of left field. Obviously, Nick was one of said fans, and he spent all night in line to purchase a ticket alongside Willie, a fellow adventurer and fan. Seeing people line up in the middle of the night waiting for tickets to go on sale was unusual, and even a stray dog that wandered in, fled the scene. Eventually, the sun came up, and Karen passed by on her way to go have breakfast. She was a little shocked to see that Nick spent the night there, but was still concerned, and brought him coffee and told him not to catch a cold. Nick was thankful, but felt awkward when people around him gave him very sharp stares, thinking Karen was his girlfriend. Still, it was almost over. The tickets would go on sale soon. "Hey, Nick." Willie suddenly spoke. "What, Willie?" "There's rumors of guys that make their girlfriends line up because they can't be bothered, and guys that make their girlfriends work as idols so they can sponge off them, so don't worry. Don't just toss my name into the Bad Idol Otaku Boyfriend Championship like that. And she's not even my girlfriend anyway. Sorry, just kidding. By the way, do you know that people are saying that the legendary paladin that protects the Labyrinth City has appeared?" Nick had no idea what he was talking about, and twisted his head. "What's that?" Apparently there was a time when the city was much more dangerous. Thefts and muggings were common, and people had to be careful when they walked around, even in broad daylight. But then, a legendary S-rank adventurer started taking down thieves with bounties on their heads left and right. Even though he or she had a pretty face, he'd show up, save people, and leave without even saying his name. That person came to be known as the Lovely Paladin. What, aren't you interested? No, it's just that it's so sudden that I don't know what you're getting at, and I'm way more interested in Agate's live event. It's all related. Remember the casino that was attacked the other day? They say the Lovely Paladin was there and saved Agate. Cough. Nick gagged. HN. What's wrong, Nick? Nothing. It doesn't look like nothing. Anyway, isn't that Lovely Paladin from a long time ago? Isn't that weird? Willie smiled as he nodded. I dunno, maybe the legendary paladin lives a long time like a high elf or a dark elf. No way. Well, I don't think it's true either, it can't be the real one. But that person has become pretty popular after saving people. To leave the scene without saying their name and not even bothering to receive the casino and chivalric order's gratitude. Yeah. Also, like I mentioned, no one even knows if it's a man or a woman, but Agate says she thinks it's a woman. HN. She does. It's just a rumor. People also say that person's really beautiful, but no one knows for sure. Said Willie with a puzzling tone. Nick was going to ask more about it, but the place where the tickets would be sold opened. Staying there all night paid off, and they managed to secure seats in the front row. Nick felt very relieved as he looked at his ticket. He wondered if Agate had been hurt during the battle, or if witnessing such an intense battle up close had scared her. Basically, he feared that Agate could have stopped her activities as an idol because of him, but now, he was holding a ticket with her name and date. Surely she would be as lively as ever, and Nick could not wait for the event. In the end, Nick's fears were unfounded. In fact, things were moving in the complete opposite direction. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. Good evening. The men in the audience responded with their deep voices. Nick knew he was but one of them, but he felt strangely proud to be here. No one was more worried about her than him, and even though he was a huge fan of hers, his eyes resembled those of a boyfriend. I had some little things to take care of in my private life. There were rumors that I had gotten hurt and retired, but as you can see, I'm better than ever. Ooh. I was worried. Keep doing your best. Agate waved. The shadow that loomed over her in the casino was gone, and she was so full of energy that she looked as though she would burst. Thank you. But it's true that I got roped into some trouble. One wrong move and I could have died. Everyone in the venue started murmuring, worried about Agate. But I was saved by a girl, and thanks to her, I am alive and well. Her voice was soft and mellow, and had a different kind of charm than her usual stoic aura. She was such a noble person, just like the paladin heard about in legends. It made me want to help and encourage people like that too. That's why I'm going to sing a song extolling those virtues, not as an idol, but as a troubadour. A new song, of course. The sudden announcement of a brand new song piqued the audience's excitement, but Nick looked at Willie before raising his voice in support. The way he was smiling led Nick to believe that he heard about this new song somewhere. Nick felt a mixture of surprise and jealousy, but what Agate said next would surprise him even more. This song includes my heartfelt thank you. The Lovely Paladin. Belle took a break from her regular activities after breaking up with Donnie. She did not state publicly why she cancelled her upcoming live events, which she knew very well would arouse suspicion. People would wonder if she got seriously hurt in the casino, or why she was even there to begin with. She was ready for scandalous speculation to start being fired at her. She concentrated fully on songwriting, musical composition, and training. The finished song was wonderful, and completely devoid of noise, but its quality was what sparked debate in the office. The problem was more than just the quality, but also its theme and direction. Singing this carried a lot of responsibility for troubadours. You could even call it duty. It was very risky for an idol. It was an epic. Basically, a glorification of a specific person. For idols, who were supposed to convey their love to thousands of fans, this was close to being considered a taboo, even if she was originally a troubadour. Some said she should stop, some said the opposite. Many meetings were held, and people with contrasting views debated, but in the end, the president had the final word. I think it's fine, it's just Yuri. And then, the office purposefully started spreading a rumor. Apparently there's a lovely paladin that protects the citizens of this city from the shadows. And it's a beautiful woman that can charm anyone. Apparently she saved an idol named Agate. These rumors spread among idol otaku, just like the office expected. If a man saved Agate, it would bring about jealousy and envy, so they pushed the idea that it was a woman. As a result, both the new song and the existence of this paladin were well received among idol otaku. Agate rewrote the song many times until she was satisfied, and picked her phrases very carefully. The first half was about the strength and beauty of the paladin, but the second half was made to encourage and excited people by saying that all those that fight for justice are paladins. The last part in particular struck a chord with adventurers. It was a song that made people want to be respected by Agate in the same way she respected the paladin. This type of song is good too, isn't it? I'm full of energy. Respect. Put your manuscript up for auction. I'll pay whatever it takes. Let's go take down bad guys. Was the sort of reception it received from Idol Otaku. This live event was her biggest success to date, and Idol Otaku went home more satisfied than ever before. Except for Nick. Why? Why? Nick went back to his inn filled with grief, and sat down holding his knees. It's fine, isn't it? She was complimenting you. Yes, yes. Having a troubadour sing about your deeds is an honor for an adventurer. Karen and Bonds, worried, shrugged. It was more about Tiana. It's not like I'm not happy, but it's complicated. Well, yeah, Tiana is cool. That is true. Both agreed, and Nick sunk his face even deeper. Why? Nick's anguish could not reach Agate, because the lovely paladin's true identity was a secret. Today, Agate encouraged and fascinated another person, somewhere.